No more rhymes now. I mean it. Anybody want a podcast? Welcome to Sync Floyd, the podcast where we watch every movie ever made to see if it syncs up with Pink Floyd's 1973 magnum opus, The Dark Side of the Moon. I keep using that word. I don't think it means what I think it means, magnum opus. But hello, my name is Gareth Blackler. You killed me laughing with your hilarious hit romance fantasy comedy. Prepare to be introduced to my co-host, the inconceivable James Barron. Hello, James.
Hello, Gareth. This is very kind. Since the invention of the intro, there has been 5 intros that were rated the most passionate and the most pure, but that one left them all behind, Gareth. That is just a wonderful intro to our show. It's so many great quotes to be referenced in this fantastic film. My choice this week, The Princess Bride, one of probably like top 3 favorite movies of all time for James Barron. Bloody love this one.
Is that a list, the top 3 that you can just pull out? Because I find like I really have trouble if someone's like, "What's your favorite movie?" I just sweat.
So my top 3 are probably The Matrix. I don't have them in order. The Matrix, The Princess Bride, and Muppets Treasure Island, which I just love. It's not the best movie ever made, but it is one of my favorites. So yeah, that's my top 3. So
I'm so glad we got that. What, like 97 episodes in?
Hey man, there's 3 movies left. We could just do those 3. We've already done The Matrix, but never mind.
Yeah.
We'll just do it again.
Don't panic too much, listeners. There are slightly more. We're doing 100 movies. We didn't think we'd announce this week. 100 movies all up, which does mean we've got like, I think 10 more movies because we've done bonus episodes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I should have counted that, but I didn't realize I was spilling secrets.
Mate,
this early in the show. But speaking of spilling secrets, this is one of your top 3. What's your relationship with The Princess Bride? Did you grow up with it? Did you discover it? How does it go?
I definitely grew up with this movie. It was a big childhood movie for me. I think I would have seen it like probably pretty young, like 6 or 7, I think. Which is pretty wild because there's some like heavy stuff that goes on in this movie.
Yeah,
it's like a genre spanning film with like comedy elements, fantasy, drama. It gets like really dark and serious in places. It's not really meant for. It is a kids movie, like in all sense of the word, right? Like. It's told from the perspective of a grandfather telling a story to a kid. So it's like all stuff that could be in a kid's book, or at least like a YA book, I would say. And therefore a kid's movie. But I definitely grew up with it and have loved it ever since. And also, it holds up, man. This movie, I've watched it like probably once a year for like since then. It's just so good. What about yourself? Had you seen it before? Thoughts on The Princess Bride, Gareth?
So I did not grow up with it. I feel like maybe this is like everyone thinks their childhood was the childhood. So I'm speaking incredibly specifically. But I feel like this movie didn't pop off in New Zealand. I think it's incredibly specific tone New Zealanders couldn't quite understand. Like it's begging to be a Saturday night movie. But, like, I feel like it never played. Maybe it was a rights thing. So I missed it completely until 2011. I was 19. We'd just had the Christchurch earthquakes. Wikipedia it, listeners, if you aren't aware. But they were pretty rubbish. But I borrowed the book, The Princess Bride, from my girlfriend at the time. And it was probably the first, like, pop cultural escape I had after that kind of like rough experience. Like I devoured the book and I completely adored it.
Oh, nice.
Have you read the book?
No, I'm so glad that you have so that you can provide that perspective. That's awesome.
Yeah, so the book does. I love this about the book. It has this really interesting meta framing device.
Yeah.
Where William Goldman, the author, says that he was read it as a child by his father, and then got so excited that his son will read it that he went and bought his son a copy, and his son couldn't get through it because the book, in this universe, the book is actually like 600 pages long and is just full of lore and satire about Europe in the 1600s.
Right.
And like not a kid's book at all, just beefy and boring. So he sets out to rewrite it as his father read it to him. So he cuts out, it's called the Good Bits version. Even on the actual front cover, it says like Erin Morganson's The Princess Bride, abridged by William Goldman.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so like a lot of the time there'll be like, he almost does it to escape a few plot holes. Like there'll be something that happens and then he cuts to real life and explains what followed was just incomprehensible to the modern reader. I'm sorry, but look, it gets them to the fire swamp. So we're at the fire swamp now or something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so funny now, and it worked because I believed it for like half the book. I was like, this is amazing. This old European book was so boring and so famous. And then something clicked, and I ended up, like, this was pre-smartphones, sort of. So I had to, like, go on my laptop and look up the book and be like, oh, it's fake. But that just added to my journey, and so deep was my love for it that when I finished it, I logged into my little Twitter account I had at the time.
Whoa.
Now long deleted because it was full of incredibly basic churgy tweets.
Oh my God.
And tweeted one of my most basic tweets, which was just, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Nice.
I got
Classic.
2 replies to that.
Whoa.
One was a bot that is programmed to find when people tweet that and tweet the count's next line about an overdeveloped sense of vengeance.
Right.
Which wasn't in the book and really confused me. Like, how does this guy know about my sense of vengeance?
Getting sassed by that bot? Get out of
Yeah.
here.
And the other tweet was from my friend James Barron.
Oh, no.
Who said, yes, The Princess Bride or something like that.
Hell yeah.
And then offered to lend me the DVD. So that's when I first saw this movie. It was thanks to James Barron, co-host of this podcast.
Well, that's really lovely, honestly. I was expecting this like shock of fear that ran through me as soon as you mentioned my Twitter account. No, holy moly. Please, if you know what my Twitter handle is, please don't delve back into 2011, James. He was a different guy, okay? It's all still there, though, just like a lovely little time capsule. I haven't gone back and deleted anything yet, so hopefully I don't get cancelled by the end of the show.
Oh, wow. That happens live as we're recording this. You take your phone off airplane mode at the end, and you're like,
it's like, hang on.
No.
Oh, I got a lot of tweets here. Weird. I'm on the news? Cool. Okay. No. I highly doubt there's anything that bad. It's just cringy kid stuff.
It's on the news. Man loves Princess Bride.
Hell yeah. Yes, elected governor shortly after podcast. Yeah, man. Oh, that's lovely. A big fan of that story and this film. So I cannot wait to talk about it because it's all I kind of ever want to do is talk about The Princess Bride. Not usually with how it syncs with a magnum opus of an album, but I'm happy to provide that perspective tonight.
Yeah, well, should we dive in? Should we talk scene for scene, sync for sync, how this synced with Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon album, movie on mute, album up loud.
Oh. Why have we not said that before? That rules.
I know. Oh, God, we've got to do another 97 eps now.
Oh, my God, yeah. That's our new, slogan, album on... movie on mute, album up loud. That's really good.
Yeah, I'm scratching it down now.
Hell yeah. Put that on the description of the pod. Anyway.
Yeah. Man loves Princess Bride, elected governor, full stop. Movie on mute, album on loud, full stop.
Here we go. Opening titles speak to me. You know what the deal is.
I want to paint the listener a little picture that, get tucked up in bed, pretend to be sick, pull a sickie, and imagine us now, 2 probably strangers to you, coming into your house, settling down with a book and telling you this movie.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, I think it's richer. In fact, that's how I want you to listen to every podcast from now on.
Back in my day, podcasting was called books. All right. Yeah, you know what's happening. We start this movie with a young Fred Savage, very young, playing an Atari baseball game. We get that, like, usually we would be getting a chip tune, Take Me Down to the Ball Game, good-ass track happening here. But, of course, we're getting Speak to Me rolling in instead. So the kids having at home having a sick day, as you said. And yeah, we go into Breathe as his grandfather arrives, gives him a gift. It's a book called The Princess Bride. There you go. And that's the end of the film. No. Yes, it says that back in my day, television was called books, and is going to read this book to Fred Savage. So presumably Fred Savage is playing William Goldman in this movie. And this is the grandfather reading it to him so that he can do the adaptation of the Princess Bride book in reality.
Wow.
Which is
you've solved it.
Pretty meta, but I think that's what's going on. It's fun. Anyway.
That's only topped by Skater Boy, the song being then about how they wrote Skater Boy.
Whoa.
Like, it's the second most meta thing now.
That's wild. Oh my god. Did she say see you later boy directly to a skater boy? Or like to the song? I'm so confused.
Look, this is what people tuned in for, but Skater Boy is terrifying. So,
okay.
Verse Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne, released in the early 2000s.
Everyone's favorite
Verse 1
Pink Floyd song
is a high school love story, which ends sadly because he was a skater boy and she says, "See you later, boy." 5 years later, the skater boy is now playing guitar in Avril Lavigne's band, which we find out in the bridge, I believe. In the bridge, it gets so scary because it's revealed that the skater boy 5 years later from the events is still so bitter and twisted about her saying "see you later boy" that he forces Avril Lavigne to sing a song about it, which is then the final bridge and chorus. And also points out that Avril Lavigne is now with the skater boy. So she's dating the skater boy who's clearly still hung up on the girl who said "see you later, boy" to him.
Oh my god.
And has now got her sing this song about how I was in the right and she was wrong. And weird details like she has a baby and her friends are busy.
Jesus, this is like a Gone Girl story. This is wild. Oh my god.
Skater Boy is twisted, and
wow.
I would not sit down my grandson and read him the lyrics to Avril Lavigne's Skater Boy.
Okay, I'm glad that you don't.
Although that would be an amazing fourth verse is it actually pulls out again and it's a grandfather reading it to a child.
It's annotating the song Skater Boy. Yeah. Can I make it any more obvious?
Can you come back and read it again, Grandpa? See you later, boy. Credits roll.
There it is. The movie Skater Boy coming out soon. Oh my god. So we're I don't know how to jump back from that. That's the weirdest tangent I think that's been on the show, but I do love it.
I'm sweating from that tangent.
Oh man. Yeah.
I've had that bottled up. I didn't realize.
I'm afraid that Avril Lavigne's going to come and shut me down.
Yeah.
If this gets out, she will take us down.
Her new album, Love Sucks, in stores now.
Yes, Avril. We're big fans, please. Okay, so we get into the story proper. I do like that that this is also framed in a similar manner to the book, right? Like it's there's lots of asides and cutaways where we have the grandfather and the grandson talking about the book. Well, not talking about it, but interruptions, and then the grandfather trying to continue the story, that kind of thing. It's similar, but not the same.
They use it to do a lot of the same kind of jokes. She does not get eaten by the eels, as in both versions.
Oh, really? Well, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It works well, and it also, it's the same thing. It forgives plot holes. It, because again, this film, fascinatingly unique tone, and it's it's easy to understand with that framing device.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Oh, man. So yeah, we've got our main characters, Wesley, Carrie Elwes, who is a farmhand attending to Buttercup, played by Robin Wright, bloody House of Cards out of nowhere. Didn't put that together until this watch, but anyway. They're both great actors, and yeah, like very early on in their careers here, potentially starting out. And yeah, it's a typical falling in love with the farmhand kind of humble beginnings story here at the start. To which like the young grandson is very like worried that this is going to be like, he says, "Is this a kissing book?" Because fair enough, honestly, this does sort of start out like a Mills and Boone for what it's worth. Plot-wise, Wesley does everything that Buttercup says, saying "as you wish" is the only thing that he says to her, but really meaning "I love you," which is pretty intense. And we go into on the run when they're falling in love, and then we have this interruption by the young boy. So yeah, we're already like flying through. There's not really anything sinking at the start here. After this interruption, Wesley leaves to find his fortune across the sea because he can't like afford to get married, and is murdered by the dread pirate Roberts, apparently. And yeah, the grandson's like, "Well, that's good." I'm sick of him. And yeah, heartbroken, Buttercup vows that she will never love again. It's kind of, this is like the one beef I have with this movie, is that Buttercup says some really weird stuff. She says "never love again" here, and then when he comes back later, she says "I will never doubt again," which is just, I don't know. I guess it's like the fantasy setting, but it's still pretty funny.
Yeah, she's very quick to never blank again.
Yeah. I guess she's like a storybook character, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yes. So cut to 5 years later, we're in a town square, and the great Prince Humperdinck is presenting his new bride-to-be, Buttercup, Princess Buttercup. So she's the Princess Bride, in case you weren't sure.
Hey.
We get the crash sound over her reveal to this audience of people. Grandfather provides some narration saying that she doesn't love Humperdinck in spite of his ability to choose his bride out of anyone, because I guess that's just like what a prince do. He just chooses someone and then you have to marry them. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she goes out for a ride on her horse to like calm herself down.
My favorite thing from the book. Sorry, I did also listen to the whole audiobook this weekend.
What? That's awesome.
I didn't mean to, and then it was over.
Oh, Gareth, your commitment to this show always never ceases to amaze. You know, it's the best.
It was an abridged version, so it was like the CD version of the audiobook.
An abridgment of an abridgment? That's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. And read by Rob Reiner, the director of the movie.
Oh, cool.
So you got to hear like high fantasy in a very New York accent. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But the detail I wish the only, like, I love the changes they've made, but the only detail I wish they'd kept is that her horse is just called Horse. Which is just very funny to hear, especially Rob Reiner say. She went for a ride on horse.
That's fantastic. Oh, man. That would be a good detail. I guess the horse doesn't play that great of a role in the movie, right? It's pretty much immediately gone after this next scene.
Yeah, true.
Because, she encounters a trio of strange men in the woods here who kidnap her as we go into time here. The clock's going off over this kidnapping.
Just missed these alarms going over the like three superstars.
Yeah, pretty close. They are these superstars. We've got Wallace Shawn as the Zini, who is a little Sicilian man. I love him. I love Wallace Shawn and basically anything that he's in. What a wild guy. And this is like probably his most iconic role like he's ever done. I think he'd still get comments.
He's
about
admitted
this.
it as well.
Yeah. It's such a good one. Like, and we've got Mandy Patinkin as Inigo Montoya, the Spanish fencing champion, basically, or master. Just a good guy.
Yeah, great performance.
Yeah,
like
carries.
Carries it. Emotional core of the film.
For sure.
Somehow. Yeah.
Right? For like a character that's driven solely by revenge, you are like so on his side. It's fantastic. And finally, we have Andre the Giant himself as Fezzik, as playing a giant. Obviously, hard to like melt into the role of a dwarf if you're Andre the Giant. He's a big guy. He basically plays like a fantasy version of himself, which is great. And they're out here kidnapping princesses as part of a plot to start a war with the rival kingdom named Gilda. We're in a kingdom called Florin, it's been established, and the neighboring, like across the sea, is Gilda, and they're attempting to start a war between the two factions by stealing the princess.
Both countries that teenage Gareth thought were real because he didn't realize the framing device was fake.
I mean, they sound real. They sound like they could be real places, right? Like the ancient past. You know, they've got good names. Anyway, they're trying to start this war, and so they've stolen the princess, and they take off via boat with Vizzini like getting really, really angry, and Fezzik lightens the mood with some of his rhyming, which is just like classic book stuff, you know, like storybook stuff. Just having a character like rhyming for the entertainment of the reader, mostly. Like, they aren't good rhymes, but they're a lot of fun. Also,
I can imagine a kid who watches this on VHS then like turning to their parents and being like, "Do you want to hear my rhymes?"
Yeah, it's quite sweet, honestly. Also, Andre, a fun fact, number one, James trivia fact, Andre the Giant was really, really worried about delivering and learning his lines because he's not a native English speaker, and was really, really worried that he wouldn't be good enough in the movie, and spent most of his time when he wasn't on camera just listening and rehearsing his lines with headphones in, and would just like do that for the entirety of the film, basically. Like, was just constantly, like, he took it super seriously, and I think he does a great job. Like, he's extremely lovable, and like you know what he's saying most of the time. Like, I think he does a great job. I'm a big fan of the boy. That's so sweet to know how like nervous he was. We'd not acted before.
He's like fascinating person. So nervous about people, you know, being intimidated by his height that he would call everybody he met like boss. And like, just go out of his way to be as sweet as possible, which is
awesome.
It's heartwarming and heartbreaking that he kind of felt he had to do that, but
yeah, what a cool guy though. Oh my god. This is also a sync though, because we are starting up Time's vocal, which of course starts with digging away the moments that make up the dull day, or digging away, I can't remember. It's not like I listen to this album every week. Which is exactly what they're doing. They're trying to pass the time here, just rhyming away, you know? Much like Pink Floyd are doing.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it's a sync because they rhyme and the song rhymes.
No, I'm not at that level yet. I've got a little bit more of a link there than that. Thank goodness. They travel on boat, sailing away to Gilda, presumably. And Inigo keeps like looking over his shoulder and freaking Vizzini out because he sees someone is following them out there. Another boat is coming up behind them. Vizzini says that this is inconceivable, which is his catchphrase. He says everything is inconceivable, which is great. Later on in the movie, Inigo comments that he keeps saying this word, I don't think it means what you think it means, which is right. He keeps using it wrong. Conceivable isn't like, it's like you can't even fathom it, I guess, is what he's trying to say, but it isn't really what that means. It sounds close, but it's funny.
Yeah. Wallace Shawn got the role because of the way he said inconceivable in a different film.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah.
Man, they just plucked that one out. They were like watching every movie ever made, except they were watching for when somebody says the word inconceivable. They've got their own podcast called Inconceivable.
Yeah. And like every movie they have to like give a 0 if it doesn't have the word inconceivable in it.
Oh,
like,
no. That's a lot of movies.
Yeah.
This one's a good ep. Yeah. So we go into Time Solo, and Buttercup uses this moment of distraction to try and jump overboard and escape and get to this other ship. But this water is infested by the shrieking eels, Gareth, which are truly horrifying. They're like a puppet eel, but they're enormous and have very sharp teeth. They're quite scary if you're a little kid. And I really do like that the book and also the movie like undercut this by cutting away and saying the eel doesn't get it. Like, don't worry. It is like, it's a really clever way to like make a scary scene like not as intense for like a younger audience within the like narrative of the movie. I think it's a really smart idea. And yeah, they like scoop her up and then continue on their way. But yeah, I just think that's a clever moment in this movie. They use these like cutaways sparingly, but also like to advance the story in a good way, I think.
Yeah. That's a good way to have your cake and eat it too, with like, you know, you can have the eels be scary and it be like something exciting for an adult to be like, oh, look at these puppet eels, they're so cool. Whereas like a kid can then enjoy it, being like, okay, no, we're safe.
Yeah.
We're safe, we can watch it.
Exactly. So we get the home again in time. We're like after the tempo change now. And they approach the cliffs of insanity. Gareth. This film does the same thing that Krull does, where they have all the stupid fantasy names for things. I think that's why part of the reason I love it so much is just because this falls under the fantasy as hell banner for sure. We are deep in like romantic fantasy era. And yeah, Fezzik climbs up of the side of said cliffs of insanity, carrying the 3 other people in like harnesses that he's strapped to himself, and is also just using his hands in like a hand-over-hand climbing style up a rope, which is incredibly impressive. Probably fake, but really good.
Oh, very fake, yeah. Andre the Giant, I don't think he could lift anyone at this point. I think he was like injured from wrestling and just from his own height.
Right.
So it's like completely fake. I think it's just like on its side and then they just rotated the camera. Right.
It looks quite good anyway, like because they've somehow like suspended, maybe the rope was like stiff. I don't know. But like it looks like he's like climbing up hand over hand, definitely. Or maybe there's like a runner rope going up a bit and he's being like hoisted at the same time. Something like that.
Oh yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds conceivable.
Yeah. Fully conceivable. And yeah, so we also see that the follower is also climbing up as we go into Great Gig here. We see the person that's been following them, and they're wearing all black, and a mask is disguising their face. They do have a tattletale little mustache as well, though, which is quite good. Yeah, so they reach the top quite quickly, and Vicini cuts the rope behind them, so in an attempt to drop their pursuer down the cliff, but he quickly grabs onto the side and doesn't fall. Again, inconceivable. And this is where we get that line. I don't think it means what you think it means. Just loads of good quotes in this movie if you haven't seen it before. It's one that is it's just full of banger lines and dialogue. I imagine they're mostly from the book, and they've just like lifted them from here because they're really funny. This movie's hilarious.
Yeah. I think anything that's not in the book, well, it's the screenwriter also wrote the book and the movie, so anything that's not in the book, it's still the same source. He's still
same voice.
He's just like improving on what he's got. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So because he didn't die, Vizzini orders Inigo to stay behind and basically say if he reaches the top, then kill him with your sword skills. And they continue off on their escape with the princess. So Inigo tries to pass the time waiting for this guy to reach the top, asks him to hurry up, which is hilarious. And tries to like convince him to he says, I'll throw you a rope, but I'm only waiting around here so that if you reach the top, I'll kill you. And the man in black's like, well, that does put a damper on our relationship. Eventually manages to convince him to take the rope by swearing on his father's life that he will reach the top alive. He throws that rope down right as we finish Great Gig and get the cha-ching of money coming in as well, which is nice.
Yeah, the whole ordeal, like everyone faces the cliffs exclusively to Great Gig in the Sky and then moves on to the next song.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Always good when a full song lines up with like a full scene. That's nice.
Yeah.
So now we're at the top and Inigo very kindly gives the man in black a chance to catch his breath up here as well. Inigo's a man of honor here and is like, as a sign of like good faith for their fight, is like letting him catch his breath. And we learn his story as well. This is a good way to get like the backstory of Inigo. When he asks if the man in black has 6 fingers on his left hand or right hand, I can't remember which actually. One of his hands.
After all that expertise we've dropped.
Yeah, right. 6 fingers on your left hand. I think it's left hand, he says. Anyway, I had to like say the line in my mind then.
Yeah, just have to do the whole script really quickly.
Just very quickly in my mind. Yes. So. Inigo's deal is that his father was commissioned, he's a sword maker, and he was commissioned to make the finest sword in all the land. And like, again, very trustingly, Inigo like hands his sword over for the man in black to like look at and then passes it back, which is like a terrible thing to do if you're trying to like kill someone, but whatever. Again, lots of honor here. But when the man, the sword was completed, and then when the man returned to purchase it, he would only pay 1/10 of the agreed price. Talking about prices over money, by the way, which is good. Inigo's father refused this, and the 6-fingered man brutally murdered his father in cold blood. And Inigo challenged the 6-fingered man to a duel to avenge him, but he failed because he was only 11 years old at the time. And the 6-fingered man left him alive, but gave him matching scars across the sides of his cheeks with his sword as like a reminder of this. And since that day, he's dedicated his whole life to the study of fencing, so that when he meets the 6-fingered man, he'll be able to face him in combat, and he will say the famous line, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die," which is a line. It's like a wild thing to say to your arch nemesis. Just starting with hello is great. It's very formal, which I like a lot. It does suit Inigo's character that he would say hello first. But yeah, it's
interesting. Yeah, so this film had no real cut through. Again, speaking from my own childhood, didn't feel like it had a huge cut through into New Zealand's pop culture landscape. But this line, cut through like a sword that a dad would make. It pierced it.
The finest sword in all the land. Yeah, this is it broke the glass ceiling of New Zealand pop culture and emerged into the light of day.
you can't make pop culture references when doing comedy in New Zealand because we won't get it. Like, that's advice that like more veteran stand-ups give newbies. But like, yeah, this line made it as far as like an ad from the 90s in terms of most New Zealanders are aware of it.
It's pretty bold of us to start a pop culture show in New Zealand, come to think of it.
Yeah.
Let alone do 80-something episodes of it, 90-something episodes, man.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
We're silly.
Yep, but it's okay. We're already here. We knew that from the beginning. We didn't need a podcast to figure that one out. Yeah, it's a good little tale that we get here from Inigo about his father. It's compelling. I think we get his whole deal right here. And before we go into this fight, this duel where between the Man in Black and Inigo, it kicks off for the guitar portion of Money's solo coming in. And yeah, it's a good fight. This is done for real by the actors, except for one bit where they do the spinny around the bar, the gymnastic bit. Every other bit is done by the actors, Mandy and Carrie. Did a lot of practicing sword fighting, apparently.
Yeah. I heard they they claim to have watched every sword fight that was in every movie.
Wow. Oh, now that's a podcast, baby. That's cool.
Well, also checking if anyone says Inconceivable and if any of those movies synced with Dark Side of the Moon, I'm sure. So
they've done all of that. We're just catching up to the dynamic duo, Carrie and Mandy.
If anyone was to start a Princess Bride podcast who was on it, in the movie, that is. Those two are probably the most likely and also would probably be the most engaging.
Yeah, 100%. It's there for the taking, boys.
Yeah.
Get amongst. I would listen.
Well, we'll produce it. Well, we'll give it a plug.
Yeah, we'll give it a plug.
The plug it does not need from us.
Oh, man. I'd love to be a founding member of like an incredibly famous podcast. Wonder what that's like.
Hey, it's Carrie, Mandy, and James.
Oh man, whoa! How did he get here? I'm on the dials. I'm on the decks, the DJ decks in the background. Producer
You're dropping
James.
like morning radio drops,
but it's
exclusive.
It's excerpts from the film, and I'm just cutting in. Actually, get me off the show. The more I talk about it, the less good it's going to be. But yes, this sword fight, it's very good. They range all over the ruins that this is set in. It's very clearly like all fake bricks and stuff as well, which is very silly. And like there's like a gymnast bar, and you can see the crash mats, which are just like buried hastily under sand and things like that. But it's still a lot of fun. Yeah. We do get a double twist of each of them fighting using their left hand as like a method of holding back before switching to their dominant right hands to as like a twist, being like, ho, I was holding back this whole time. You never knew my true power. It's very Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
It's great. And the fight concludes with Inigo getting disarmed, and he requests a swift death. But the Man in Black doesn't want to kill him. He says he's like a great artist, and instead just knocks him out with the butt of his sword. Delivering the line, "Please understand, I hold you in the highest respect," which is great. And then he runs off into the next scene. As at the end of Money, we have in the away kind of outro bit as we go into Us and Them, which is nice. So Vicini sees that the Man in Black is still in hot pursuit and orders Fezzik to deal with him his way, aka hitting him with a rock as we go into Us and Them here. And Fezzik's like, that's not very good, not very sportsmanlike, is what he says. And he does throw a rock, but deliberately misses to give the Man in Black a sporting chance, and proposes a battle between them with no weapons and no tricks, just skill against skill is what he says. And Fezzik can't help but be the big, strong man that he is. But it's quickly revealed that the Man in Black is is small and very quick, and so he uses that to his advantage. Although, how the fight is won is by the Man in Black like jumping onto Fezzik's back and choking him out.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty impressive to be choking out Andre the Giant. I think he's got a pretty damn thick neck. Like, so that's impressive in and of itself.
Yeah.
But
the man on back.
Oh, man on back. I like it.
Thank you. Very generous.
Also, while being choked out, Fezzik is just talking about like how he's having trouble and why he's having trouble in the fight, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Saying that he's like used to fighting whole big groups of people for charities, which is hilarious. And isn't used to fighting a single combatant. And so that's why he gets taken down. Very good. He also, the Man in Black says, rest well and dream of large women, which is just still a very funny line.
Yeah.
Because
you can dream about them in any way you like, you know? They could be just your friends.
Yeah, any color you like.
Yeah. That's a song.
Now that's a song.
We're just coming up with all our podcast catchphrases this week. Movie on mute, album on loud. Now that's a song.
Now that's a song. I hope that does become a catchphrase because it's so stupid because we only have 9 to choose from. That's hilarious. I just start bigging up random songs on the album. Yeah. Now that's a song. Money? Oh, mate. Now that's a song. Oh, that's so silly. Okay. Finally, we reach Vicini himself, who instead of running anymore has set up like a table. Effectively, he's set up a on top of like a boulder. He's set up a place, a tablecloth and some cups and things, like a weird little thing, and is holding a knife to the blindfolded Buttercup here, knife to her throat, and. Yes, he says, so it is down to you and it is down to me, which is something I say far too often.
Yeah.
The Man in Black challenges Vicini to a battle of wits, his strength, apparently. Vicini boasts about being smarter than Aristotle and Socrates, and and he gets challenged to a battle of wits of the Man in Black's choosing. The battle of wits is thus. It is the Man in Black reveals a small vial of iocane powder, which is an undetectable, unsmellable poison. And he pours it into one of the 2 goblets of wine, and then behind his back so that Vicini cannot see, and then switches them back and forth and then puts them both on the table and says that Vicini must choose one of the wine goblets to drink out of. They both drink simultaneously, and we find out who is right and who is dead, which is good stuff. Hilarious that Vicini did as instructed and smelled the random vial. I think he already failed the test at the start here. That could have just been anything to knock him out or kill him instantly and he's done. But whatever.
Yeah. It's also interesting, just in case we don't get to it, that it's odorless and that's how you know what it is.
Yeah.
But the prince then later sniffs the vial and immediately goes iocane powder.
Yeah. It's a bit. I think that's definitely a joke, is that he smells something unsmellable and then says iocane powder, I'd bet my life on it, which is just premium. That's fantastic. So Vicini does a lot of back and forth about what he has to choose from. He says, all I have to do is defer what I know about you, to determine where you'd put the poison. Like, he says, so because of this, you can't have put it in front of me. And because of this, you can't have put it in front of you. And he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth over and over again, effectively trying to trick the Man in Black into giving something away so that he can determine which of the goblets he put the poison in, because he obviously doesn't know. He does this for a while and then says, you've given everything away, and then does the classic look over there trick. Like, tricks the Man in Black to look over his shoulder at something that isn't there, and then switches the goblets on the table. And then says, okay, we're going to drink. I'm going to drink from my goblet. You're going to drink from yours. And that's how it's going to go. And so they cheers, and they both drink from the goblets. Notably, Vicini does let the Man in Black start drinking first before he does so. And in so doing, assumes that his one is the one that isn't poisoned. He thinks he's won because he did the switching of the glasses, and he is laughing at the Man in Black for tricking him over such a simple gambit before immediately dropping dead.
Just falling sideways out of frame in like classic 1920s comedy routine. I love it.
So good. So slapstick. Oh, man. Yes. So it's revealed that both the goblets were poisoned, and in fact, the Man in Black has built up an immunity to iocane powder to survive this very challenge that he proposed, which is such a baller move. It's so hilarious that you'd build up an immunity to a poison, and just in case you needed to challenge someone to a poison-based battle of wits. It's hilarious.
This is a quote that I use too much, is the idea of building up, spending 2 years building up an immunity to something. Yeah. It's harder to fit into everyday conversation, but when you do, it feels so good.
I've spent the last 2 years building up an immunity to asparagus.
2 bits of eggshell in the omelette.
Finally, I'm at my whole strength once more, and I can crunch these bad boys down.
Gareth, you didn't cook the rice properly. I have spent the last 2 years building up an immunity to crunchy rice.
Based on what I'm hearing is that you're just struggling with your cooking a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Princess Bride's got me out of a lot of awkward dinners.
Well, that's good. That's worth it. That's a good legacy to have. So in Brain Damage here, we get introduced to the Man in Black. He is the Dread Pirate Roberts, the person that killed Wesley. And he recounts remembering Wesley and killing him, and saying that he didn't die. He died with honor, and said that he pleaded. He just said, "Please, I need to live," because he was in love, true love, with somebody. Presumably Buttercup is what he says. And he admonishes her for falling in love with somebody else and getting married, to which Buttercup says I don't love him. It's common knowledge that I don't. It's pretty rough stuff. He does threaten to hit her at one point, which is no good. Which is going quite far.
Just to play your little character. Yeah, it's really weird.
Not really good. Probably the only downbeat in the whole movie for me. Buttercup, they see that Humperdinck has tracked them all the way here and is cresting the hill, trying to get to them. And Buttercup uses this distraction to push the Dread Pirate Roberts down the hill. And he calls out, she's like, "You could die for all I care." And then he replies, "As you wish," as he's tumbling down the hill. It's like a ADR recording. It's great. And she realizes that he is in fact Wesley this whole time in disguise. And throws herself down the hill as well. This fall down the hill looks real and painful.
Yeah, right? both times, like, I watched it clean in with the album, and both times I was just like, how are they doing this?
Yeah, it's got to be stunt people, right? If you've never fallen down the hill, it's fucking terrifying. I did this once on a school camp, accidentally rolled down a hill, and guys, did you know hills are often covered in like rocks and stuff? And if you start rolling down a hill, it's pretty hard to stop because you start picking up speed. I was like gathering no moss like a rolling stone, Gareth, as I was rolling down the hill. It's a dangerous and painful time. So miraculously, I didn't break any bones, but I think I sprained something. But anyway,
I went to a concert at a winery, and to do the opposite of how fancy a winery is, my friends and I went and found a cool hill and started just rolling down before the concert.
Wow.
And yeah, I also didn't expect to pick up speed as I kept going on a much like less steep hill.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, big regrets. And imagine if I'd like injured myself and missed the national.
Brutal.
That would be so sad. Yeah.
Oh, no. National at a winery?
I was already planning to be so sad because I was at the national.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you have to have like a sprained ankle at a concert, like the National's not a bad band to have that happen at, I must admit. Especially at a winery where you can like numb the pain. But like still not a great sitch though. It would be amplified the sadness and might take you over.
If you need to just hide the fact you've like got a broken ankle, and it's like, yeah, that's not why I'm crying. Yeah. It's the wine and the National.
There you go. Oh man, I've been building up an immunity to my broken ankle by listening to the National and drinking lots of wine. Oh, so good.
Imagine that on a like coffee mug.
It's a long, confusing coffee mug. But most of our ones are, so it's fine. You get more coffee that way. Okay. So there's a bit of a reuniting moment here. More kissing. Much to the chagrin of the grandson. He's like, oh, the kissing again. I'm over this. And he's like, skip ahead to the fire swamp. That sounded good. So they go to the fire swamp next. As we go into Eclipse and then into playthrough 2. Introduced to the fire swamp, which is a stunning set, by the way. A swamp's never looked so good. Not since Krull have I been so impressed with a swamp set. God damn. Big old trees, big old fake vines. It's looking good. Love it. We have a brief encounter with a jet of fire coming out of the ground, hence fire swamp. Just like singeing the robes of Buttercup here. And then we have Wesley over the heartbeats telling us the story of how he survived the encounter with the Dread Pirate Roberts. What he said before was all true, except that he didn't get killed. He got taken on as the Dread Pirate Roberts' valet. And said, like, Roberts would say to him every day, I'll most likely kill you in the morning. And said that for years and years as he just became a part of the crew of the Revenge and learned to fight, etc. And then Roberts one day wanted to retire because he'd become so rich, and they revealed to Wesley that he wasn't even the original Dread Pirate Roberts, and that it's more of a name, like a title that's being used by several pirates to like inspire fear, and be this like pirate master of the waves, etc. I do love the reveal that the Dread Pirate Roberts that he was dealing with is named Ryan.
Yeah.
Very good.
Perfect pirate name.
Yeah, so good. The Dread Pirate Ryan. And yeah, so in order to retire, Wesley is named the new Roberts, and the previous one, Ryan, stays on as first mate to convince the new crew that he's Roberts. And yeah, by the time they complete a journey, everyone believed that he was Roberts, so he's officially Dread Pirate Roberts. And there you go. That's how he was able to become Dread Pirate Roberts despite only being away 5 years and the Dread Pirate Roberts being around for 20. So there you go. Just another fun little story.
Yeah, it's a good little dip away. It's probably just like an idea that William Goldman had that he didn't like feel like he could turn into a whole story. So it's just like, oh, it fits perfectly in my Princess Bride book.
Just weaved it in. Yeah, not a full story, but just like a fun idea. So good.
It is such a, like, it's an idea that's stuck as well. Like, this is another reference point that almost made it into New Zealand.
Yeah.
As you can talk about the Dread Pirate Roberts and people kind of get that idea of like, oh, it's just a name.
Yeah, it's just a name. So the ship of Theseus of occupations, kind of.
Yeah. Whoa.
Maybe.
That was the smartest thing on this show since you knew the name of a horse-drawn carriage.
Last episode?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. I'm glad to
Every episode of this is the smartest episode yet.
Mate, I'm just hitting homers nonstop. Oh, man. Yeah, so this story plays out all through Speak to Me going into Breathe. And we're mid-breathe as... actually early breathe, sorry. As suddenly... Buttercup falls into lightning sand, which is quicksand that just devours you like instantaneously. Wesley like dives in to save her, and like she pulls them both out by climbing up a vine. As Pink Floyd sing "Breathe, Breathe in the Air."
Yeah,
at the start of
gasp
Breathe.
for air.
Yeah, perfect. That's the sync, baby.
It's a good sign that we're kicking off this playthrough with some good syncs.
Yes.
Because the characters literally sunk into some ground.
Into the sink sand.
Thank you. I did pretty much mess up that joke, but thank you.
No, you got it. We got there. I knew what we were talking about.
The album kicks off with a sink.
Yeah.
A sink into sand.
Oh, there it is. Just cut that back
I won't
in.
edit out the stumbling. Too proud.
Yeah. So we go into we're still in the fire swamp, and they cover off some dangers because Buttercup's ready to give up after this, falling into the sink sand, and is there's like, no, we've already succeeded because now we know all the dangers of the fire swamp and how to avoid them. The fire coming out of the ground is preceded by like a popping sound that we, the audience, cannot hear because Pink Floyd is blaring.
Of course.
We can identify what the lightning sand looks like because we've sunk into it once and it's fine. And she says, but what about the ROUSs? And he says, rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist. And then is immediately attacked by a rodent of unusual size. I'd love that they're called ROUSs in the film. It seems like a liner note for like the script or something. That's like how they would abbreviate it, but no, it's just part of the story that they're called ROUSs. But yeah, giant rats. These guys are like looking like big puppets. They're actually little people in rat suits. Doing this like battle here. Yeah. They're fairly convincing. It's a fairly scary fight. Like quite serious, where like Wesley is crying out in pain as this rat is biting him. It's quite scary. He defeats the rat by rolling it into the path of the popping of a flame jet, basically, and scorching him. So this guy extra got set on fire in a rat suit. He would have wanted a Holocaust cloak, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny. So the extra who plays the main rodent of unusual size got done for drink driving the night before.
Whoa,
and
what?
He was like, please don't take me to jail.
A drunk rat?
Tomorrow morning, I have to dress as a big rat and fight Wesley. And the cop was like, this is the worst lie I've ever heard. You're clearly drunk. And took him to jail. So there's a couple scenes.
Was he drunk?
He must have been like over the limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a few scenes where you can see Wesley just wrestling an empty rat suit.
Oh, really? Because the guy was just in prison.
Yeah, because they couldn't get him out until like later on in the morning.
That's bizarre. Oh my god. Man, imagine being late for your big rat day. That sucks.
I know.
Man.
Oh,
You've been
prepping my big rat day.
Yeah. The performance that he does give as a giant rat is super impressive, honestly. It's very convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I watch this movie and he like wanders out while they're in the sand, I really want him to start singing. I know it's not going to happen, but a little part of me just wants like him to get out a little top hat and cane.
Just give me a little bit of Ratatouille. A little bit of Ratatouille 3. A bit of Tui Tui. I need it. Just give me a song.
Ratatouilles of unusual size.
Everyone has hats, but they're just very bulging because there's enormous rats in there.
Alfredo's like under the huge weight of his huge hat, just like, nah, I'm the one cooking. No one's helping me.
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yes. So they managed to escape the fire swamp. They make it out. Wesley is looking pretty worse for wear after his battle against the ROUS. And they immediately are caught up to by Prince Humperdinck, who I don't think I've mentioned actually so far, but he's played by Chris Sarandon, the husband to Susan Sarandon, and a great actor in his own right. I think he's the voice of Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
Not the singing voice, but everything else.
The speaking voice, yeah.
Yeah, singing voice is Danny Elfman.
Yeah. And yes, and so Prince Humperdinck is here, and his entourage, including Count Rugen, Count Tyrone Rugen, if you're his friend, is played by Christopher Guest, who also does a great job being this
amazing,
like, very, very scary, very eloquent, quietly speaking man like this. He's great. They take Buttercup away with the promise that no harm will come to Wesley. She demands that they don't harm him and send him back to his pirate ship. And if that's the case, then she'll come along and come with Prince Humperdinck and go back. So it was all for nothing. So sad. Prince Humperdinck agrees, and then, like, as an aside to Count Rugen, he says, as soon as we're out of sight, throw him in the pit of despair. Which, oh my God, this movie's got a pit of despair.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So we get the crash sound and On the Run as she's just, like, swept away, like, picked up off the ground, and taken away. Count Rugen says that will take him to take Wesley to his ship, but of course that's a lie. And we see that Count Rugen is Inigo's six-fingered man that he's looking for. It's a very creepy shot of like an animatronic hand in a glove with six fingers all moving. It looks so wrong.
Yeah.
If you have six fingers, no judgment. But man... It looks wild in this film. I'm saying it probably wouldn't be as creepy as in real life. I don't know, but man,
surely not.
Wild.
Yeah. If you had six fingers and killed someone's father, though, no respect.
No respect.
But mainly for the murder.
Yeah, mostly the murder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Count Rugen quickly knocks him out with the butt of his sword. This was done for real. This is another fun fact. Carrie Elwes said, really go for it, Christopher Guest. Really make the camera look like you're hitting me really hard and knocking me out cold. And so Christopher Guest really did, and full on knocked him out with the sword. and Elwes needed to get stitches in his head.
Wow.
Took him out of the movie for a couple weeks, I think. Pretty nuts.
Oh, man. Boys just going too far is what I'll call that.
Oh, bloody ridiculous.
Oh,
I'm trying to make a film.
Boys?
So we get the clocks and time kicking off now, and we go to the Pit of Despair, everyone's favourite place. Some kind of underground facility, and we've got a character called the Albino, who is played by Mel Smith. and he has one of my favorite jokes in the movie where he appears to like give Wesley some information about where he is and what's going on, but starts off by having a like creepy, strained voice, but that is revealed to just be like a frog in his throat, and he just starts talking with like a fairly normal Cockney accent afterwards. So good. He's like, don't even try to escape. It's all good. He gives me big like Bill Bailey energy, this guy.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. Like in Hot Fuzz specifically. But yeah. So we go back to the castle and we see Buttercup like walking around very sad about the situation, and Humperdinck blames it on his dad being unwell, the king. And even Count Rugen's like, yeah, it's that. And then it's revealed that the king died in the night, and Buttercup is married to Humperdinck shortly thereafter. And this is immediately interrupted by the grandson being like, whoa, Granddad, you're screwing the story up. What are you talking about? She doesn't end up with Humperdinck. That's not fair. And the granddad's like, well, where does it say that? Life isn't fair. It's like sometimes bad stuff happens. Like, what are you talking about? And then, it convinces him to continue the story. And he's getting worked up, this little kid. He's sick, remember? I don't think he's actually sick. He definitely is faking it. Because he's just at home playing video games.
Yeah, sure. He's very active about this point.
Yeah, maybe he's feeling better now.
That could be the power of stories.
Yeah. Oh, true. He's revived him. Yeah. I can see that.
I, for some reason, waved my hand in the air as I said the power of stories.
Wow. Just emphatic. Adding to point, orating for the podcast. I like it. So she's presented to the people this time as their Queen Buttercup, and she is told off by who only I can describe as a crone in the crowd, and a lovely old lady who just throws insults her way, saying that she tossed aside true love. And her lines are so funny. This delivery is great. Bow to her, bow to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of putrescence. So good.
She was my star of the watch. And then I found out she's in Pink Floyd's movie, The Wall.
Whoa.
As like a teacher.
Oh, yeah. Probably like citing this, right? Like, or maybe vice versa. Like, this is very similar energy to a Pink Floyd teacher. Just screaming about slime,
Yeah.
So this scene is revealed to, in fact, be a nightmare of Buttercup. The king is still alive. She's still not married. The marriage is in 10 days. And the grandson's like, yeah, I told you so. And the granddad's like, yeah, shut up. This is a book. There's narrative tension. So she goes to the prince and after this dream and says that if the marriage goes ahead in 10 days, she'll kill herself before the end of the morning, but like before the following morning. Pretty intense. And we are having Times Vocal coming back in. After the mad guitar solo, that lady's screaming about slime over the time solo was so good.
They need to edit that into the actual album from now on.
It would work as one of the ad-libs, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, Humperdinck is like, all right, consider the wedding off, I guess. And he comes up with a plan to send his 4 fastest ships into the 4 cardinal directions and find the Dread Pirate Roberts' ship and tell him to come and collect Buttercup. And he says, but you're the one who did the leaving in the fire swamp, girl. He might not want you anymore. And if that's the case, please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Which is just the wildest
Romance.
Tinder bio. Anyway, so we go to the secret entrance to the Pit of Despair. We see it's in the forest, and Rugen has hits a secret knot on the side of a tree and reveals a doorway. And they have a chat, him and Humperdinck, talking about their dastardly schemes. Humperdinck, it is revealed, is the person that hired Vizzini to do the capturing of the princess because he's the one that wants to start the war. What? Twist. And yeah, he's now planning to have the princess murdered on their wedding night and blame it on an assassin from Gilda to again start the war. Oh, drama. Added layers. Yeah. So we get green. What? We get Great Gig rolling in as we have Rugen, Count Rugen, starting Wesley on the machine, quote unquote, which is a torture device in this kids' movie, involving a water wheel and pumps and stuff. He explained. He turns it on. And Wesley screams out in pain, and then he explains what it does. Effectively, this is a suction cup that instead of sucking water, which is a weird way of phrasing it, sucks life. He saps life by the year away from you through a suction cup. It's horrifying as a concept. The idea of taking away someone's literal life so that they can't live it is truly scary. Murder in a sense, right? He's removing their life before it's over. So yeah, it's just a weird circular murder.
An IOU murder.
Yeah. But yeah, we have in Great Gig, we have the frightened of dying ad-libs playing over this at the start, and that works over this description of a horrific torture. Shouldn't be frightened of dying, that kind of thing. Because Rugen is being very clinical. He's trying to have exceptional bedside manner, even though he's literally a torturer. And it's he's doing a scientific study. He uncomfortably reminded me of myself on this podcast. But yeah,
just describing horrific events that happen to these people, but just being and can they describe how much it's synced with Pink Floyd?
Right? Yeah, it's how I feel every time we do a horror movie.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Humperdinck then goes to raise suspicions about this pending assassination attempt that he's planning to Yellen, his advisor, I guess. I don't really know. He's this guy who looks like our friend Tom quite a lot, with a big bushy mustache and long hair. And yeah,
your listeners probably don't know our friend Tom, so just picture your friend Tom.
Yeah, picture your friend Tom, and I hope he's a big, friendly, furry man. All right, because that's who we have here. And basically, he asks for the Thieves' Forest to be emptied before the wedding night, so that this assassination attempt cannot happen. Hilariously, Yellen says that some of the thieves will resist, which is great that he's just aware that the thieves' forest is full of thieves. And that it's just that's where the thieves be, It's very good. Also, removing everyone from the Thieves' Forest will mean that no one can break into the Pit of Despair and potentially rescue Wesley. So he demands that Yellen form a brute squad to deal with them. I have seen in the wild in New Zealand, Gareth, a badge on somebody that said Humperdinck's Brute Squad and just had a picture of Fezzik on it, which is pretty great.
That is a good badge.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is, our friendship deepened over A Princess Bride. You sort of just leaning in and being I like The Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine the life we could imagine the third co-host we could have had if you had then collected that person.
Exactly right, man. We could have had our own Brute Squad. That would have been great.
Yeah. Welcome to Sync Floyd. We're the Brute Squad. Let's get going.
Oh, man. The Sync Floyd Brute Squad. But it's just, we can't do it with only the two of us, is the sad story.
No.
We can't call ourselves a Brute Squad unless we have 3 hosts. That's a rule. It can't be a squad of 2.
No. Would have our own supplement sponsorship if we were the Brute Squad.
Oh, I hope so. Gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to the wedding day, and the forest is being emptied of thieves by the Brute Squad here. We hear that there's a Spaniard giving the Brute Squad trouble, and we see him, and it's Inigo, of course. He's returned to the beginning at the demand of Vicini after his defeat on the cliffs of insanity, and he has returned to where his story started. Where Vicini found him, which was drunk off his ass on brandy in the Thieves' Forest, which, you know, is a good vibe. And yeah, he isn't moving because he's super drunk and is just stabbing at anyone that comes close to him. So yeah, we get the cha-ching of money coming in, and Fezzik, the Brute Squad, arrives. He is now a member of the Brute Squad. And yeah, is reunited with Inigo. Immediately abandons being part of the Brute Squad because he's found his old friend, which is very nice. And yeah, the granddad does a bit of narration about like comedy narration, where he says that Fezzik took great care reviving his inebriated friend Inigo, and we just see him like dunking his head into barrels of water. So funny. And yeah, he learns of that Rugen is the 6-fingered man that he's looking for, and Inigo's like fired up to get his revenge and go and kill him. But they need a strategist because the castle gate during the wedding is guarded by 30 men, and Yellen has the only key to the gate. And yeah, so they need a strategist to work out how to get through them. They talk briefly about how many people they think they could handle, which is, they say about 10 each, which is quite funny. Yeah, they decide they need the man in black and go out to search for him. Buttercup then finds out that obviously Humperdinck didn't send his 4 fastest ships to find Wesley. He never did that, obviously. It was clear from the start, but she doesn't. She says it doesn't matter because she's confident that Wesley will come for her in spite of that. The power of true love will prevail, and the bad guys lose, good guys win, etc. And this infuriates Humperdinck. She calls him a coward as well, and he like locks her into her room. And we like runs very quickly to the pit of despair. I think he like walks out of shot in the castle and then appears in the pit of despair in the world's fastest cut. And yeah, it's just furious that Wesley has got the love that he wants, and sentences him to suffer more than any man ever has. And then sets this machine that sucks life away to 50 years in one go. Rugen briefly said that the machine, he usually sets it to 1 year at a time to remove people's life because he likes torturing people, obviously. And he said that one day he might go as high as 5 years at once, but he didn't know what that would do. And now Humperdinck has set it to 50, its maximum setting. And yeah, this makes Wesley let out this horrifying scream, described in the film as a scream of ultimate suffering. Which like echoes loudly across the whole kingdom. Everybody hears it. And this draws Inigo and Fezzik to find the right spot. They're like, yes, that's the sound of ultimate suffering. That's the sound that my heart made when my father died. It's like, damn, got him. yeah, bloody dark. Just like, oh man, just a man gets tortured so badly in this movie. Poor Wesley.
Yeah.
The things you do for true
And
love,
Carrie sells it as well. Like, it is a devastating scream.
He is full on screaming. He's like, this is what landed him his role in Saw, probably.
So is.
Right? This one scream. They're like,
you can be tortured.
Yeah, you know ultimate suffering. You know about torture. Let me put you in my weird torture game movie. Oh man, wild.
Yeah.
So Inigo and Fezzik rock up to they trace the sound to the thieves' forest, and they come across the albino out here who's just carrying a little cart towards the pit of despair to do something. And like is caught in the act of like going towards the secret tree. But before they can get in, Fezzik like tries to like threaten him and jog his memory, quote unquote, to get him to tell him where the man in black is. And he does a little bit too good of a job and knocks out the albino with one swift hit to the head. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But now they have no leads, so Inigo asks his father from beyond the grave to guide his sword to the correct spot, and follows the path to the tree, and assuming it doesn't work, like it just hits into the tree, and he's like, "Oh no!" and leans up against it, hitting the secret knot and opening the little door into the pit of despair, which is just like a great little like set moment. Oh, it's so fun, you know. Just secret doors, man. I'm all about that shit.
Yeah. Oh, need them all in every house.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't found any in my new house. I'm still looking. Maybe I'll make some.
You can do it. You own the house,
right? Yeah.
Oh. I tried so hard to get my parents to get a secret library door, like a book that moves and opens the door in their house. And they compromised by getting some very trippy bookshelf wallpaper.
Yeah.
That, like, you look at it and it looks like the room keeps going. And it's in their bathroom. And I think it's, like, one of the weirdest and coolest things in their house.
That's rad. Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Oh, my God.
Yeah. You can tell they listened to Pink Floyd back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Your parents have strong Pink Floyd energy.
Yeah.
Yes. So they go into the pit of despair. They find Wesley, but he's dead. He's dead, Gareth. And this is interrupted by, again, the grandson, who cannot believe it. He's like, "What?
Yeah.
Wesley's dead. You've gotten the story wrong. This is impossible. Like, this is inconceivable." Granddad. He's like, "What the hell? Who kills Humperdinck? If Wesley's dead, who gets him? Who gets the baddie in the end?" And the granddad's like, "All right, that Humperdinck lives." And he's like, "What? The story sucks." And he's like, "Well, yeah, like nobody gets him. He survives at the end of the story," which is true. It's great that he tells him. But yeah, he's clearly very worked up, and the granddad's like, "Oh, I think I'm going to stop for the day. I've clearly like upset you with this story. I'm sorry." And he gets up to leave, and the kid's like, "No, please finish the story. I love the story. Please let me find out what happens." It's good. Yes. Inigo refuses to give up, even though the man in black is dead, and he says. He asks Fezzik how much money he has, and hopes that it's enough to buy a miracle, because we're going to Miracle Max, heretofore unmentioned character. He's the ex-court wizard ? And healer of the crystal of the palace. Jesus, the crystal. He's Billy Crystal, is why I said crystal.
All right.
Played by Billy Crystal. I every time I see or hear Billy Crystal in anything, even though he's like a man who has multiple roles, I just picture Mike Wazowski every time, which makes no sense. You know, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Mike Wazowski affected me, I guess.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I suppose the hipster version is to hear Calcifer from the English dub of Hell's Moving Castle.
That's pretty good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a guy.
What a guy, right? Like, iconic roles. Obviously, Harry Met Sally as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, same director.
No, nice.
Yeah, shout out to Rob Reiner, by the way. Great director.
Yeah, awesome.
Iconic role, and also, like, mostly just enjoys hosting the Oscars.
Yeah, man.
Oh, like, he'll do it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You can have fun doing it.
His last name's Crystal. That's so cool.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Great last name. I wish my last name was Crystal. James Crystal. God. I mean, Baron's pretty cool. 3 hosts. But, you know.
That is true, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
What if your name was Crystal Baron?
I don't know.
Baron Crystal?
Maybe my firstborn will be Crystal Baron. Baron
Crystal Baron and Stanley, which is a callback to episode 2 of this podcast.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Stanley is my firstborn. Well, good to know I named that so early in the show's history. Anyway. Billy Crystal playing Miracle Max. He has a lot of banger lines, obviously. Billy Crystal absolutely bringing it in this movie. He says, I might kill whoever you wanted me to miracle, because he's retired, which is very funny. He talks about his other favorite line of mine is have fun storming the castle, which is something I say a lot to people when they leave. Like, someone leaves my work, I say, have fun storming the castle. Good times. So it's revealed that Wesley is only mostly dead, Gareth. He's clearly hanging on to life for some reason. And so that's helpful. Miracle Max is going to find out the reason that he's still sticking around, and like pumps his air full of lungs, breathe in the air, unfortunately not playing currently. And fills up his lungs to find out the reason that he's staying alive. And Wesley says, true love. And it's pretty obvious that that's the reason. He's like, yes, true love is the best thing in the world. But it's not what he said. He clearly said to blave, which we all know means to bluff, which to blave.
To blave.
Everybody knows that. Assuming that Inigo... he owes Inigo money and is therefore hanging on to life. It's then that Max's wife comes out to like yell at him and tell him to take the job with the great line. He's like, get away from me, witch. And she's like, I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. Ruthless.
So good. Carol Kane as Valerie, his witch wife.
So funny. They both got like big like Radagast the Brown living in the woods energy. They're very, very funny. But yes, they managed.
They apparently just like, because they weren't in it a lot, so before they flew out for the role, they would like meet up and just like improvise as these characters just for kicks. So they really like had these deep comedic wells to draw from. Yeah,
they feel very lived in these roles. They're just vibing the whole time and having a great time with it. And they're great on screen together, just yelling over each other.
I would watch a play of these two. Like, like a weird 2-person. Even if it's a 2-person show,
it does feel
with a bit of a play in it.
Yeah, it does feel like a play almost, because they're just like talking over each other and have like very, very comedic, like quick lines with each other as well. Yeah, same kind of feeling. Nice. Yes, so we managed to convince Max here to perform the miracle because Humperdinck will suffer greatly if Wesley comes back alive, because he wants to interrupt Humperdinck's wedding. And so this revenge is the noble cause that Max was looking for. And gets to work. They make a pill which is coated in chocolate. to revive him. And yeah, set them off, have fun storming the castle. It's a hilariously large pill, like walnut sized, I would say. Looks like very unappetizing despite the chocolate coating. But anyway, that's what you get with Woodsman miracle pills, I suppose. Yeah, so they give Wesley the pill up on the wall rampart, looking down at the castle gate, and he comes back alive basically immediately, but is unable to move his arms and legs due to the torture, like sapping all of his strength, and also being dead for a good part of the day. That'll do that. That's enough to tire anybody out. So he gets Inigo to list their assets and liabilities, which is talking my language, baby, for the plan of how they're going to break in and save Buttercup, etc. Inigo does so, but it's not looking good. They don't have very much to do, and there are 60 men guarding the castle gates rather than 30. He's pretty sure it's impossible. States, if only we had a wheelbarrow or something. And Inigo's like, wait, didn't the albino guy have a wheelbarrow? Where did we put that? And he's like, well, why didn't you mention that among our assets in the first place, Inigo? So good. This is also where we get the Holocaust cloak, which is just a cloak that Fezzik has taken from Miracle Max's, this huge coat for him. Holocaust cloak in this instance meaning a cloak that cannot catch on fire. It's a fireproof coat that won't, but like if you fuzz it up, like with like scratching it or whatever, there'll be a thin lining that can catch on fire on the outside, but you will be unharmed on the inside. Whether or not this is a real thing is unknown to me.
Yeah. We off mic both Googled it at the same time, and we couldn't find that out.
Limited results. Basically just talking about this movie, and it's like, hey, is this real? And everyone's like, I don't know. But anyway, if you've set yourself on fire, please do write into the show.
That's a stunt that even the Guinness World Records don't want anyone to do anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
The fact that they do it in this movie is pretty wild. Yeah. Anyway, we go into the middle of the night now, and it's time to put this plan into action. While the ceremony is underway inside, we have Peter Cook, as the character name is the Impressive Clergyman, which I didn't know until researching it for this movie, for this watch. Hilarious. But I've just called him like the celebrant guy. And he is just like here for like the dumbest joke possible, which is that he's performing the ceremony with just the most ridiculous speech impediment possible. He's like saying marriage and wav, true wav, like for the whole thing. Very, very silly bit.
So silly. And he's like shot so beautifully. Like he's made of Vaticans. Like he's going to be that impressive.
Exactly.
And then, just for marriage.
Just completely undercut immediately. It's great. Yeah. So the plan, meanwhile, is underway. Fezzik is being wheeled out on a cart by Inigo with what's his name? Jesus, it's gone from my mind. The main character of the movie.
Oh gosh, what is it?
Wesley, yeah, thank you. Is like just on his back, like because he's still unable to move properly. He's able to like move his legs now at the very least, but can't walk. They're wheeling him out and waiting for the right time to light him on fire to inspire fear. Fezzik is claiming that he's the Dread Pirate Roberts here to claim the souls of mortal men. Hilarious. Very scary. Andre the Giant in a giant coat on fire. Pretty terrifying. I feel like I'd run away from that as well. We're in Brain Damage for this, and Pink Floyd sing The Lunatic is on the Grass, and fair play. It's probably Fezzik here, set on fire. So I'll count that. Apparently this has gotten into a bit more in the book as well, like how this whole plan happened. It's actually like really well thought out. But anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't in my abridged,
double abridged
CD version.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're going to move on then. That's all good. Yeah, Humperdinck, like, rushes through the ceremony, like, skipping major parts and rushes to the end, getting the clergyman to say man and wife, just that on its own, and assumes that that is good enough for the wedding and that they're now married. And so, rushes off to deal with this problem because he hears the commotion outside. And, Buttercup is taken away to the honeymoon suite by the king. It's hilarious because she's like, oh, yeah. She gives him a kiss and says, I probably won't see you again because I'll be killing myself in the honeymoon suite. And he said, isn't that nice? It's just like an old man completely out of it. Hilarious. Yes. Inside the castle now, we've breached the walls and Inigo runs into Rugen, surrounded by his guards, and he kills them all the guards very swiftly with his swordplay, and then delivers his line: "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." Rugen looks like he's going to stand and fight, and then immediately runs away, not allowing Inigo to get his revenge like he wanted. So Inigo gives chase, trying to catch him, but gets shut behind a locked door. Fezzik runs over and like punches it down with a single punch. This locked door, very cool as a stunt. Yeah. Like, obviously fake, but looks really good. Because he like punches it and then he's like, there you go, sir. You know? He in this process, Fezzik's had to like stand Wesley up with his arms interlocked with the arms of a suit of armor in the hallway. But when he returns, Wesley is gone. He's not there, and he's like, oh shit. Usually we just see him doing the like Pulp Fiction meme with him just like standing around looking for something that's not there. Good stuff. Yeah, we go into Eclipse now for this chase at the end of playthrough 2 with Rugen running into the dining hall, and he throws a dagger at Inigo, taking him down. He like slumps down and like taunts him right at the end of playthrough 2 here. Bit of drama at the end of this play. Very big dick move, honestly, throwing a dagger and then taunting your opponent. Lame.
Yeah. Everyone else has had the decency in this film to chat first, then get the blades out.
Exactly. That's not how Rugen do. He either tortures you or throws a dagger at you, and he gets what he deserves. In the honeymoon suite, Buttercup goes to kill herself by plunging a knife into her chest. As we get the heartbeats between the plays, which is like really great as a sync. It really like layers the tension of that. But it like is interrupted just in time by Wesley revealing himself to just be on her bed in the honeymoon suite here. And she's like, oh my God, you're alive. Amazing. You did come for me. And Wesley, of course, is unable to move in the bed and just sort of has to like endure her kisses on top of him. We go into playthrough 3, and throughout the heartbeats, Inigo's been out of it, just lying on the ground. And then he comes back at the start of playthrough 3. Speak to me. He gets a second wind and rises.
Yes.
Is possessed by the spirit of revenge.
And Pink Floyd.
And Pink Floyd, coming back for a third play. He lost all power because Pink Floyd stopped playing. And as soon as they started again, he's back, baby. And he gets like stabbed in his either arm as he's rising up by like half deflecting Rugen's blade. And then gains strength over the course of the album, gaining strength here as we go into Breathe. And battles against Rugen, giving him a mirror of the same wounds that he just received, which I think is so good. Like, just as this fight is so cleverly done as well. And that like he like stabs Rugen in the same spots that he gets stabbed. Eventually disarms him, and then like torments Rugen in his last moments. Gives him the same cheek scars that Rugen gave him when he was 11. Like saying like, give me everything that I desire, give me money, give me fame, etc. And Rugen's like, yes, you'll have everything that you want. And we get our 1 PG swear in this film here, which is used to the greatest effect in any film, because Inigo stabs Rugen in the abdomen, just where he got stabbed with the dagger that should have killed him. And he says, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. Hell yeah. It's like incredibly cathartic as a revenge story. You're like, yes, he did it. Like, it's amazing. It's very, very satisfying. And yeah.
It's hard to make someone like the audience invest in a revenge story, but especially when you don't see the inciting incident. But man, when you've got the Patinkin,
man,
man, in 5 minutes I've got a great joke. Hold on.
Patinkin with revenge. No, that's not it.
No, it's gonna be good.
I'm thinking it's gonna be a good scene.
There you go.
Oh, it's not good.
Just you wait.
I don't have physics gift for wordplay. Oh, that's all I need. Wesley says, comforts Buttercup that the wedding didn't happen because they skipped over the I do's. She never actually agreed to get married, so therefore it doesn't count. And Humperdinck is in the room and says like, I'll soon fix that after I fix you, effectively. And prepares to fight Wesley to the death for Buttercup. And Wesley like distracts him by instead challenging him to a fight to the pain, which requires some explanation.
You pretty much almost have to do the whole speech.
Yeah, it's an extensive length of disfigurements, which I'm not going to cover here.
Yeah. It's
pretty gross, pretty dark stuff to be suggesting to do, but it's mostly just Wesley buying himself time. And it's definitely dramatic, and Humperdinck's like, yes, let's get on with it, let's fight. And then he thinks that Wesley's bluffing, and Wesley's like, yeah, maybe I am bluffing. Maybe I don't have the strength to stand. And we're in Breathe going into On the Run here, and Pink Floyd saying race towards an early grave. And as they sing that, he says, but maybe I have the strength after all. And he stands up as we're going into On the Run very slowly and very dramatically and just stands there raising his sword, pointing at Humperdinck. It's like the miracle happening, him standing up and ready to fight, you know, and demands that Humperdinck drop his sword. And you're like, oh, shit. Over On the Run, it's so dramatic.
Yeah.
Just that transition, I was like, man, that's cool. Yeah.
It's beautiful that it's like the final scene and the final confrontation, and it doesn't need to be another action scene because they've kind of given us...
They've already done it.
Good enough sword fights, yeah.
Yeah.
So why not just let Carrie act as little secret ponytail off?
Yeah.
And,
the fight's already won is the thing, right? Like him standing up, him having the ability to stand and raise his sword is enough. Like that is winning the fight, really, because he's overcoming like everything that he's been through in this one moment. Like, and it's fantastic. It's really good. And it's enough to terrify Humperdinck, who is a full coward and immediately allows himself to be captured and tied up. He's like, shit, okay, I guess you weren't bluffing, and there's no way I can win.
Just sits down with lovely, perfect posture.
Yeah, and just allows himself to be tied to a chair. We find out that Wesley was bluffing as good old Inigo comes into the room trying to figure out what's going on. And Wesley like slumps down after he was leaning on his sword to stand. To blave, Gareth. He was blaving.
Blaving all along.
Oh, mate. Blaving. Blave with my heart.
In this podcast, we like films with glaves and blaves.
That's damn true. Oh my god. From glaive to blaive. Yeah. Yeah.
Glaive to the grave.
So good. Yeah, so they do
That's going to be the name of the oral history of this podcast in 25 years when it's the most influential show.
From blaive to glaive. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, to grave.
To grave, okay.
The dark history of the most influential podcast ever made.
Wow. It's a long title, but it checks out. It's the same as the Princess Bride's full title. So they do leave Humperdinck alive, as they said, and unharmed to live with his cowardice, quote unquote, as his punishment, which is good. It's not like overly dark. Like the real villain has already been killed, and that Rugen gets his just desserts for being a dirty murderer. And they make their escape on 4 white horses that Fezzik finds in the stables, poetically. And he's like, I found these horses, and I thought, hey, there are 4 of us if we find the lady. Hi, lady! So good. And they get away. Wesley comments with Inigo's revenge plot now tied up. He's like, well, you'd make a great Dread Pirate Roberts. And Inigo's like, yeah, maybe. And then they jump out the window onto these horses, sailing away into the sunrise of the following morning. And Granddad doesn't read the last line of the book. He's like, it's more kissing stuff. You don't want to hear that. But the grandson, over the course of the story, has matured to the point where he no longer wishes to interrupt and is happy to hear the end of the story. And yeah, it's that 5 kisses in the history of the world thing that I said at the start, but this time about kissing and not about podcasts. And he says the end of the book right on the crash sound of On the Run on the third playthrough. So, whoa, the crash of the book closing, crash of On the Run. Wild. It's time for bed, and it's time for time to start playing for the end of the movie. Granddad says the little grandson asks if he can come around and read the story again the following day, and the grandpa replies, "As you wish." And that's the closing line of the movie as he puts out the light on the film, and we get the credits.
And it's so wholesome and relaxing, and then all of the clocks in Dark Side of the Moon go off.
Yeah, in time
so
hitting us.
Scary.
And it's like, right on the credits, just beating you up, and you're like, whoa, ow, okay.
Yeah. Life is pain, princess.
Oh, that is another good quote that I missed. That's one quote that I missed. Life is pain. Anyone who says different is selling something. Man. What did you think? How did it sink? That's my quote.
Oh, well, James, when you've got the Patinkin, you're in for a sinking.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, see, I teased it. It was like my revenge plot against myself.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm full of holes. So good.
I mean, yeah, it was good stuff. Good timely syncs, some nice thematic syncs.
Yeah, man.
I'm feeling personally, I'm feeling a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
If you are?
I like that. I'm pretty happy with that. I was hoping for higher for the movie, and as you say, there were a lot of syncs, but like I'm happy with 7. I reckon that's probably right, if I'm being honest with myself. Yeah.
And that's the true lesson of the show, is be honest with yourself.
As always, we found the moral. Amazing.
Oh, wow. Next week.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep on going. We're gonna sync another film with Dark Side of the Moon.
What?
Is what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Yeah. And okay. That's like the genesis of really this episode was an online interaction. We've got to go back to another one where just after we announced this podcast, a friend messaged us and they suggested we do a film.
They asked if we were okay.
Yeah, pretty much. And that film was Pokemon, the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which we did. And
great hit.
There was a second suggestion
of
a different film. And that film has haunted this show. That film is knocking on our door once a week asking, are you going to sink me yet? Are you going to sink me yet? Because this film is essentially Sink Floyd the movie.
What?
It's about a good-looking slacker who becomes obsessed with hidden messages in pop culture.
Oh.
It's a very naughty film. It's not a perfect film, but it's fascinating. And it's a little film from 2019 called Under the Silver Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I know nothing about this. I'm excited. That sounds fun.
Go in cold.
I am.
Trust me. Go in. Yeah.
I will not
You're going to
look
scale
anything
some
up.
cliffs of insanity.
I'll find a DVD and I'll watch this.
Well, actually, weird plug, but there's a service in New Zealand called Beamer Film.
Ooh,
where if you have a library card, you can stream like some movies for free, and that's
sick.
one of the movies on Beamer Film.
All right,
So
I'm gonna get on Beamer Film.
Yeah,
I hope
it's
we're
also on our
getting paid for
Netflix,
this.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I look forward to beaming my way into that film and learning about the Silver Lake. Great.
And if you, listener, are scheming for a beaming as well, you can follow Sink Floyd Podcast at SinkFloydPod on Twitter.com, on Facebook, on Letterboxd. You can email sinkfloydpod@gmail.com. Send us the subject line, I'm scheming for a beaming, and we'll send you back a screenshot of The Princess Bride.
Okay.
And that's the service we promise at any time.
That's true.
It might just take us a few days to reply.
We'll remember. It'll be all right.
Yeah. And oh my goodness. Until next week, I've been Gareth Blacklow.
I've been James Barron.
And we'd have a third co-host and be a brute squad, but none of us are called Crystal.
Yeah.
So until then, we'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
On the dark side of the moon, baby, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. I went into, like, the American national anthem for no reason. That was weird.
Oh.
Didn't like that. Never mind. Bye.
Bye.